to the Welcome to the American Freethinker live call-in podcast every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Phone number 810-348-5807. Topic of the day: smart people are stupid and the education system. Phone number 810-348-5807. Hello, hello. Anybody there? If anybody's there, all I need is someone to go ahead and put thumbs up on whether they can hear me okay. And then, of course, once the video pops up, because there is a delay, anybody there? Hello.
Hey.
Hello, this is the American Freethinker. How you doing?
Okay.
You are on the show.
I'm one of them smart people that are stupid.
Really? Well, geez, I haven't even got into that topic yet.
Can't figure out this menu.
Let me go ahead and I'll call you right back once I get started, okay?
You talking to me?
Yes.
All right.
All right. Okay. Welcome to the show. Yes, that was a call-in. I think everyone just heard. Something new we're trying to get going here. I actually have people call in. Once I get the show going, get started, after an hour of doing pretty much a perfect show, from what I understand, all you were able to do was see things, but you weren't able to hear it. And let me let you know, it was probably about a perfect podcast. Just to let you know, it was fantastic, and I was enjoying it thoroughly. But so much for that. Okay, now anybody who is on, I need to have the headphones on when I'm answering a call. Anybody who's on there, please thumbs up, thumb down on the audio. I still have to make sure I'm not getting reverb. I think I figured out how not to get reverb, but just have to make sure. I was having problems with my OBS, the operating system here, so I have to make sure it's working. So if anybody's on there and they're listening to the podcast right now, please let me know that the audio is working. I do not want to get started and do a whole another hour without making sure it works. So you're just going to have to sit here and look at me. Maybe I'll get up and dance or something. No, I won't. Anybody, if you're watching this right now live, YouTube or Facebook, please post whether or not you can hear me or not. Thumbs up, thumbs down, anybody? Still just sitting here staring at the screen waiting for somebody to let me know. I cannot go on for another hour again starting the show and doing it without knowing for sure that I'm having audio. It looks like I definitely have video. So what I'm going to do is switch over to the emblem. So anybody watching, if anybody's on there, all right. Let me see if I can get something to work here. How about right now? Let me see if I can get something. I know if there's going to be a little bit of a delay. How about right? Okay, now. So, let me see if I just got confirmation. A little bit of a delay. Oh, yes. My OBS is going crazy. Okay. I think I might have audio. I just got confirmation. A little bit of a delay. Oh, yes. Can I get OBS thumbs going crazy? Facebook or YouTube? I think I might have audio. I just got confirmation. A little bit of a delay. Video. Oh, yes. Can I get OBS thumbs going crazy? Facebook or YouTube? I think I might have audio. I just got confirmation. A little bit of a delay. Video. Yes. Can I get OBS thumbs going crazy? Man, it stinks too because I had a lot of people logged on audio. That joined. Now nothing else there. So if you happen to be on there, please share or like or something. People that joined now, nothing else there. So if you happen to be on there, please share or like or something. People that joined now, Facebook or YouTube. So if you happen to be on there, please share or like or something. Just sitting here staring at joined now, Facebook or YouTube. So if you happen to be on there, please share or like or something. Just hear me. Join will get started as nothing happened to. So if you happen to be on there, please share or like or something. Just hear me. Join will get started as nothing happened to. So if you happen to be on there, I'm going to play this share or like or something. Just hear me. Join will get started as
Welcome to the American Freethinker live call-in podcast every Wednesday, 6 p.m. to the American phone number 810 call-in podcast every Wednesday, 8607 American phone number topic of the day smart people and education system 07 American phone number topic of the day smart people and education system 07 American phone number topic of the day smart people and education system 07 American phone number topic of the day smart people and education system 07 American phone number topic of the day smart people.
Okay. How about now? Let's try it again.
Welcome to the American Freethinker live call-in podcast every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Phone phone number 810-348-5807. Topic of the day: smart people are stupid, and the education system.
We are going to pretend that show started this week at 6 p.m. Oh, I guess that's Eastern, so 7 p.m. Eastern time this week. If I can get confirmation on audio and not that it's looping on itself or reverb. So once I can get confirmation that audio is good, I can start video and we can get going. And I can redo the whole show over again. Trust me, it was a fantastic show too. You guys missed a really good one. Fantastic. Now how about chatting? I don't know if that's a Facebook issue. I don't know if there's anything I can do. What I was told that there's two different views. You have the news feed where if you just pop up and it's there and it's playing live, and then if you click on it, that's a different look. One of those, the chat works, and the other one doesn't. So if you want to chat, all right, it's good. A chat. I'm excited. Let's get going before more bad things happen. All right. Once I get going and I start explaining the beginning of the show, we'll get right into it. Welcome to American Freethinker. Let me get that video on, because I know that this is a waste unless you can see me, because that is exciting. And there will be a delay, of course. Man, I hate this delay. Anyways, welcome to the show. Did the intro. One thing that is going to be different about this show is I actually learned how to put up documents. Let me explain why I learned how to put up documents. I mentioned before that I am going to start replying to comments, not just live, until I can maybe get people more comfortable at calling in, but also comments during the show live. In a couple weeks, I had a few comments and I answered and had a good conversation. It was great. I enjoyed it. I'll enjoy it much more once we get some people that are interested in calling, but we will push forward. But I also, in the next podcast, I will answer comments made by people who watched it not live. They watched it later and they put a comment in there. I will go back to it. So that's what I've been doing from the beginning, is I was kind of going back to the show previous to say what I missed. See, this is live. When I was doing my pre-recorded videos, I could stop, start, or delete the whole thing if I just missed a lot of material and redo it. Well, this is live. And I've mentioned it before, when I'm truck driving, I'm in that seat and I'm driving, I mean, I talk like a professional DJ. I mean, I am just rolling. Not only on the truck, but I'm just talking, and it's just going good. I'm remembering things, names and dates. I get in front of the camera here and not quite as good. So one thing I started doing was little just little check mark notes that I can put on and make sure that I'm covering everything. And as the show is evolving and as people are pointing things out or I'm realizing things, now I have kind of a complete show list where I'm going to actually try to follow the show list, and as well as put up documents for you to look at. I really didn't feel I needed to do that kind of thing before with abortion or race or issues or feminism. I mean, what am I going to put up? I mean, I'm just going to put up what other people say, scientific things about abortion or XYXX or no transgender. I mean, I don't find it as important. What happened was my Uncle Dave, who is commenting on the show afterwards, and I don't necessarily like to reply back on Facebook. I would much rather talk about I'd much rather it be where it's just me talking to you. Let's pretend we're at a bar and we're just sitting there discussing the problems of the country or the world, and we're solving. 'Cause everyone's done it. You're at a bar, you get a little drunk, start talking about politics, and next thing you know, you've solved the problem. We've all been there. That's kind of the show that I started out doing. Well, on the last show, which was on man-made climate change, my uncle went ahead and chastised me heavily. Now, if you didn't know my uncle, you would say, wow, yeah, oof, well, he must not like you. But that's just him, and that's us. We go back and forth. We don't worry about that. We just say it like it is, and I'm good with that. And normally I argue back my points. He doesn't necessarily get me sometimes, and back and forth. His level of intelligence is here, and he discusses things here, and my level is here, and I discuss things here, and sometimes, he's big in the philosophical side of it, Aristotle, Socrates, all that stuff, and he discusses from a philosophical, where I discuss just me talking about things. So he went ahead and decided, he made some comments. And that's what I'm going to start with. Like I do each show, the things that I missed in the past show, or comments on Facebook or YouTube. So the first thing that he mentioned, now before I get into it, again, I want to make sure that everyone can hear me, the video's good. I'm going to start putting up some proof, because that's also another thing that he said, is that you need to start putting some proof into your shows. And so, especially with climate change. And as much as I hate to admit it, he was 100% right, especially in topics like climate change. I got to put some facts up there. I was just afraid that it was going to be too boring, me just sitting there putting these things up in there, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. I figured it out, so now that's what we're going to do. Again, phone number for anyone who wants to call in is 810-348-5807, and again, it does not have to be on the topic I'm talking about. Last week's topic, climate change. This week's topic, smart people are stupid, and I'll explain, and education system. Now, the education system conversation isn't going to be as exciting as abortion or the race issue or feminism or transgenderism or anything like that. It's not as a touchy subject, so it's not as exciting. But there's going to be a lot of topics between now and a year and a half. And this show, I will continue to do this at least until the election. And so some of the topics won't be as exciting. All right, I'm getting a call. So let's see if it works. Hello, American Freethinker. You there?
Yeah.
Well, hello. Now, before you let me know the topic that you're interested in talking about, I would like to make sure if someone on Facebook or YouTube could post, can you hear the person on the phone? Should be able to, but we'll go ahead and talk, and hopefully someone will let me know on Facebook if they can't hear you. So, what's the topic? Why did you call? And by the way, you are live and people can hear you, I think.
We have a time delay, but that's not a major issue. What I want to know is, how am I supposed to manipulate on these menus?
So it sounds like you're getting a little bit of reverb, but you can understand what he's saying. I think people are checking in here, but I don't know what you mean by that. You mean to make a comment?
I look at the right side, and I don't know how to go up and down and make a comment.
There's a sliding. There's usually something on the right, a little slide that you can slide up and down. Or if you're in the news feed view where you haven't clicked on the video itself, if you scroll down, then underneath the video is a comment sections. You want to go ahead and try that, and I'll give you a call back in a little bit.
apparently it's got something to do with my setup on the screen because I can't seem to get to the point of entering a comment.
Click on the video itself. It will expand, I believe, and then maybe you can, the chat section will pop up for you. Again, I'm not an expert in Facebook whatsoever, but I know some people are having problems with chatting, figuring it out. Are you there?
Okay, I'm watching you, and there's a little latency period here, but you're giving me instructions and all that. I click on the screen, nothing happens on my. So I'm trying to figure out, is it issue on my side or yours?
Sorry, I have no idea. I'm gonna. Is this the cell number that you have here, or is this your home number?
Because I'm trying to set up a communication thing where I can comment on your replies.
Yep. I can have someone, maybe Jackie or someone, call you real quick and let them help you with that. Does that sound good? And then once you get it figured out, you'll comment, and then I'll know you're on.
Well, let me just say this.
Okay.
At least we can communicate over the phone itself.
Correct. You have something specific already, like right off the bat? You want to go back to the climate change, or are you taking offense to
Okay, I see something that Catherine Sweat is saying about troubleshooting.
Yes, there should be a little space under there. You might not be able to see it real clear. It'll say write a comment. It's just a little space. It's not real clear. Usually like your face will be next to it because it's you commenting, and you should be able to type in there and then hit enter. My podcast has become a tutorial on how to work Facebook. I like this. We will go with it. Did you find it?
See, I'm replying to Catherine, but nothing pops up on my right side that allows me to communicate. I'm trying to figure this stupid thing out.
Well, can I have someone call you right back to kind of help you with it? Because I don't know where you're at. I have no idea.
Are you talking to me?
Yes. Is this your cell or home?
Okay, I'm not going to disrupt your whole program, so I'm logging off. I mean, I'm handling the phone up and just try to communicate.
Are you able to hear and see all right?
I'm hearing you good.
Okay.
I mean, on the show. Lapse, but I'm hearing you good.
Not on the phone, but on the show. Because I'm going to be talking about you a lot in this show, so that way you can call back.
That's exactly why I'm calling in.
All right, yeah, okay. So let me go ahead and get on with the show and listen. Maybe try to figure out the comments, and then once I'm done with the, just really hitting you hard, you go ahead and call.
All right.
All right. All right. Bye. Well, I hope that was exciting for you, for everyone else as it was for me. Anyways, all right. Where was I? Thanks, Kathy. Everyone's glued to their seats to find out whether my Uncle Dave is going to figure out how to comment on Facebook. I like this. This is exciting podcast. All right. Where was I? This is the fun part about responding to comments anyways, is trying to figure out where to go back to get the show going. Anyways, I learned how to add documents. I told you that. The comment that he did was the first critique he had about my show, the podcast, was that I'm having trouble remembering an hour of conversation I just had with apparently just myself and what I said compared to what I already said here. So I might repeat, but oh well, we're going to move on. He's coming from a philosophy, the ideas of philosophy. He's a philosophy major. And so when he critiqued my show, it was about the fact that I am not setting up what he refers to as a proper dialect, where, and again, I'm not going to say this perfect because I'm not a philosophy major. I'm a meat and potatoes kind of discussion, conversation over a beer at a bar. He just is a philosophy major that wants to talk with Aristotle and Socrates and some of the great minds today on their level. And sometimes we just kind of miss a little bit, but that's okay. I've learned a lot about how to debate. The Socratic method is something that when I'm actually talking to somebody, I use a lot, and thanks to him. I'm using hand gestures too much. All right. So he's kind of missing the point of what my show is and what I really want it to be, but not as much as the fact that I'm not actually talking to people yet, because he wants me to set up a dialect. I make the claim, smart people are stupid. Okay, I make the claim, climate change, man-made climate change is not real, it's a hoax as far as the danger. That's my claim. And then someone will come back and with theirs, and then it's back and forth. And that's a basic idea of a dialect. And everything has to stay very stringent as far as what is said and the logic of it and the reason of it. Well, the problem is I'm not talking to somebody. I'm talking to a camera. I don't have the ability to have someone come back and explain to me or argue with me or debate with me. So on this podcast right now, it's me talking about what I know about the subject at hand based on the thousands of hours of podcasts and books and the college courses, everything that I've taken. I then take all that information. We're talking podcasts of debates of people that are considered the intelligence of this country and of the world. That's who I listen to. I don't listen to just a mom and pop guy debate, although it's fun. I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying I'm listening to high-end people like the Weinstein brothers and Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson and those people debating all kinds of topics. I take that, use my critical thinking skills, which is something that he's kind of constantly coming at me because we disagree with what critical thinking skills is about, I guess. But I take that, use the critical thinking skills, apply the logic and reason that I think I have, and then that's what I believe to be the objective truth. See, in philosophy, and if you look at the definition of philosophy, a lot of it comes at you from the general and more abstract. And their goal seems to be more of I think the term my Uncle Dave uses is the golden mean. And I've been involved with debates between him and my cousin Andrew and myself. They both kind of go that same way. Andrew's probably more of a kind of a philosopher type than I am. And there's kind of, let's come to a happy medium. I enjoy no, there is an objective truth to 95% of the discussions out there. That's what I believe, especially political and social issues. This is the objective truth. The way you get to objective truth is through a nice dialectic. I think that's what I'm supposed to be saying, dialectic. And I use the Socratic method to get that from people, to get them to tell me what they feel. And instead of using my opinion and just me beating them up with my opinion, them beating me up with their opinion and nothing happens. I don't want that. I want the objective truth. I want to get to that point. And I think I've gotten to that point on most issues because of my critical thinking skills. So his first critique, that's what that was about. It was about not having the proper dialectical, I'm probably not saying that right, in the debates. And my answer is, I'm not debating yet. There is no debating going on right now. It's just me talking to a camera, hoping someone's listening. So that's that. Now, I've often wondered, and I'll try to get through this kind of quick. I've often wondered why I have this desire, this need to get to that objective truth. Why I consider myself a thinker, because I try to get to the perfect thing about everything. And I do. I work very hard at getting to that perfect thing. Thank you, Ralph. Pretty cool, aren't they? I think that's the Betsy Ross one up there. Roth. Betsy Roth. Becky Ross was someone went to school with us, right, Ralph? Okay. Anyways, go back. So I asked myself, why do I have this? Why? And it's annoying. Yeah, it's annoying to me. It's annoying to other people. As a manager, it was very annoying to the employees because everything has to be perfect. And so to me, I think it's biological. I really do, because when my uncle comments on this last time about my last podcast, he commented that critiquing the fact that this isn't a real dialectical, this isn't dialect, this isn't what you, and I've explained that. And then he kind of bashed me over the head a little bit about the subject at hand. It dawned on me right there and then, like, and I started thinking, I was like, you know what? I would put my family, my uncles and aunts, up against anybody. I really would. Because they came up with, from what I understand, a father that was kind of tough and a mom that was probably the opposite side. So they had that. But it worked somehow because they're all successful. They're not just all successful in their own right. They're all intelligent. And most of all, they're all good people. And I find that great, because I don't know if you find that a lot, where the entire family is successful. And this is from a family that was, I have no idea what they would have been considered back, 50s or whenever they grew up, as far as money wise. I don't know what level, middle, maybe, I don't know, but they definitely weren't millionaires and billionaires. So, and if they are, how come I didn't get any of it? But anyways, I digress. But they all came out of that very successful in their own rights, all of them, and it's fantastic, and intelligence and nice people. Now you go down to the cousins, and it's basically the same. It's incredible. I would be considered the black sheep of the family. I really, truly would. I am probably one of the bottom dwellers as far as cousins go, as far as actual success in life, and I'm okay with that. Man, I am what I am. I'm good. I'm happy, but. My point is it's got to be biological, and that includes athleticism. Okay, most of my family is pretty athletic, especially my Uncle Gerald. I had to point that out. He's at the top, of course, but me is a close second, of course. Okay, maybe his son that played professional football, but after that, I'm probably right there. Anyways, where was I? Sorry, I went off a little bit there. But my whole point is it occurred to me that that's what it's biological. There's something to be said with that as far as intellect or the way you're thinking and the way you're brought up. But so now about the climate change, and this is where the excitement becomes I can't even stand it. So much excitement. I knew that I should probably come up with facts, documents to kind of show my point of view. If you can hear that in the background, that is my dog Ted drinking water out of the bowl. Let's listen. Oh, he's done. Okay. The second critique now he's eating. It'd be nice if someone could maybe come in and stop him, but I don't know if anyone's here. Anyways, the next critique, live video. I already love it. The next critique, after the not being philosophical enough, not being properly done that way, and I've answered that, was commenting on not facts during the show. I didn't have any facts. It was just me blathering. And how is that any different? And he loves doing this. He has to know it, kind of to try to poke at me. It doesn't work. Comparing me to the left side because they don't have facts. Well, you don't have facts either. That I have to agree with him. You were 100% right. That topic probably deserved me showing some facts. The premise of the last show was man-made climate change is not what it's being portrayed as. It's not this evil thing that's going to happen and the world's going to be destroyed in 10 years, 12 years, whatever. That it's more of a money grab and a power grab. That is my premise. And so now what I have is I went out there and I went ahead and found some of the information. And I'm going to put that up and describe it really quick. And I'll try to go through this kind of quickly so that I can get off on the next topic. So that I can get to the next topic, which is probably smart people are stupid, then education system, because I want to hurry up and explain what I mean by smart people are stupid, because I don't want someone to get hurt feelings over that real quick. But anyway, so the climate change. You know my premise. You know how I think about it. Now I'm going to show the facts. And these are numbers. I don't think these are disputed numbers. What's disputed is the fact that the people that I'm going to mention point out that there are other contributing factors, where the people that are trying to push this hoax don't. They just show you these and hope you believe it and move on and give them money or buy credits or whatever they want to call. So the first one, and I tell you, it worked for an hour when everybody was just staring at me, not hearing anything. So it better work this time. The first one I'm going to show, and I know this is going to work wonderful. Here we go. First time. All right, let's see if it works. These are, I got to wait. There's a little bit of a delay. The first one are scientists. These are some of the most well-known in the world. And some are clientologists, some are mathematicians, some are both. That site is actually not just climate change, that the best schools, that's kind of a weird thing, but these names that are on here are some of the top scientists that finally decided that they've heard enough. They actually believe in science still. They believe in the scientific method still, and they are fighting against the SJWs that have infiltrated science. And that's a fact. It has. So these are the names. If I could figure out how to put this actual document in somewhere, like YouTube, I know you can do it. Someday I'll remember. Baby steps, people. I'll get it. I'll get there. But if somebody can give me a thumbs up to let me know everything's good, that'd be great. Before I get the next, what's it called? Next picture, next screen, next proof. And yes, Uncle Dave, this is all for you. I did this because you pointed out that I'm just not showing any facts. So here they are. And then now we can just dispute whether the facts are something that you don't like. So that's what that is. The next one. What I'm going to show you here are the temperatures. Now this is, and I pointed this out on when he first brought up. The point is, anybody can find these facts anywhere. What I do is just, I'm a conversation piece. I want to put out there what I believe based on the stuff that I've already seen. I've already seen all these things, and I'm hoping everybody can see this. This is a 2,000-year global temperature. Okay, and now, before I get started on that, the first thing that you need to know is real scientists will point out, and what I mean by real scientists, I mean the ones that haven't went SJW, social justice warrior, in case you're not sure. They point out that 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years ago, there was a way that they tried to determine what the heat was at a certain period of time. 20 years later, 50 years later, they have a better way of actually getting more precise. Now they have a better way of getting more precise. So what does that tell the average layperson? You and me, just the average American out there that doesn't have this degree in all these climate stuff, what that tells you is it's not factual. It's not 100%. That they're still finding out better ways. So first of all, the true scientists point that out. That's it. Just point it out. They may be close. They may be way off, but they're pointing it out. The ones that want to push the hoax won't even say that. They won't even point it out. They'll just put it out there. Okay, that's the first thing you need to know. But this is a graph of the heat from left to right years, 0 up to, I think it was 2007 was the last one. Just as a layperson, remember, I just use critical thinking skills, logic, reason, on everything that comes to me. Any topic, anytime. I'm not an ideologue in any way. I just look at it and say, okay, what does that look like to me just off the surface? It looks like climate change. Right? And guess what? Man-made climate change, they're saying happened in the Industrial Revolution. Probably before that, because remember, they use cows farting as one of the problems. And so, because that's CO2. Well, that happened before the Industrial Revolution. But anyways, so if you look at it, that's climate change. And if you also look at it, if you look in the middle, compared to the far right, which is now, it's probably even a little warmer, I don't know. Still not quite, right? So there's been higher temperatures in 500 and 10,000 AD, okay? Higher temperatures than now. Why? I don't know. Why? It wasn't carbon footprint by me or people. But there it is. That's all I'm saying. You get the little ice age, and guess what's going on now? Temperatures are starting to rise. My uncle pointed out that he worked for, I think it was a NOAA, I think is what it's called, part of NASA or something like that. And he just remembered that there was some serious spiking going on or whatever in the heat. And that's what they started saying. I will contend that that's just government. That's just, they're starting to tell people what they want them to hear so that they can get whatever they want to do. Yes, I'm a conspiracy theorist when it comes to that. Okay, but anyways, I'm going to move on. Right? Climate change. Prior to the Industrial Revolution. Absolutely. Facts are like statistics. They can be used to lie. You're right, Kathy. And another point to make out is bad information in, bad information out. That's what the hoax, the people who push this hoax do. They'll put bad numbers in whenever something isn't going their way. Bad numbers out. All right, we'll go on to the next one. I think this is working. This is cool. I have to thank my uncle for pointing out that, you know what, you're no better than the left if all you're going to do is sit there and yap your gums. Show some proof. Well, there it is. And this isn't, I think most people will look at this and then they're going to say, I'm not just pointing out like my own personal beliefs or some other belief of somebody, that these are numbers. I don't even think these are contested numbers. I don't think people are going to be looking at this and I would say the hoax people, the man-made climate change people, the Al Gores of the world, they're not going to look at this and say, yeah, those are just way off numbers. I think these are pretty much what they are. Good or bad, that information either way. Okay, again, the top is now this is what they're going to show you, people. They won't show you this together. What they're going to show you is the heat that's rising. If you look at over here, you can see throughout history, the little ice age, and then to the right of that is now 2007 or whatever it is. It's not much. You can see there's not much of a jump. You can see it. It's not just outrageous like they're saying. But anyways, what they say is the CO2 that we are putting out there, we, the people, since the Industrial Revolution especially, creating more cows, which creates more farts. That would be considered land use. And our fossil fuels that are being put in the air. Again, I am not contending in any way that is not happening. You would be a stupid person if your comment was, one, there is no climate change, which nobody says that. That's just the left. That's the Democrats. They just say that. Nobody believes that. Two, nobody believes that no man, no human is putting any CO2 in the air. Nobody says that. That is not true. That is a straw man argument they just put out there. This is what we're saying. I've been saying. And this is what the scientists that I pointed out, that's what they say. They look at both. They give you all the information, you decide. Okay? The bottom one is CO2 levels. What's the first thing you notice about this? Okay, first of all, you do notice that it jumps up and down, obviously. Bigger spikes here and there. But you can notice that it does kind of have a normal, kind of an up. But that up started at, what is that? That 6,000? I believe that's AD. That's when it started. Started going to kind of that just a slight going up. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down, but it does have that slight up, all right? Doesn't take a scientist to see that. What they're not going to point out is look at the temperature above. While all this is going on, CO2 levels spiking, going down on the slight downward towards probably the Ice Age, and then back up. And then maybe a little dip where the little Ice Age is. You can see that little dip. Okay? What they're not pointing out to you is look at the climate change above. During this entire time when the CO2 levels are just going back and forth, and then the steady incline, you still have weather, climate change, temperatures just going crazy up and down and spiking up, spiking down, spiking up, spiking down. Now, if what they say is 100% true, and again, I'm not a scientist, I'm just looking at this with some common frickin' sense. Why is there not a steady up when the CO2 steadily got more and more? Anybody? Bueller? Hopefully you get that reference. Yes. Now, Ralph pointed out that follow the money. Scientists make money. Well, what they say, their argument, and that's what they do. Listen, whenever a Democrat attacks somebody for saying something or doing something, chances are because they're doing it and they're trying to throw it off. Okay? And this is a big one. They say that these scientists are all working for big oil. That's what they're going to say, whether they know it or not. They don't care. What they're not going to point out, remember, both sides, what they're not going to point out is that what's actually true is that most of these scientists that push this work for universities. In order for them to get the grants they need to do what they like to do, what their specialty is. I had a science teacher at college that his go-to thing, what he loved to do, was he actually found like moths and butterflies, and he actually names them because he discovered them. Well, the only way he can get grant money to do that is if he's willing to put out that global warming is man-made and there's a problem. That's a fact. Okay? That 97% of that they put out there that they all say it is, that's not true. If you actually read the study, most of them say, no, there really isn't no proof of that, but there is climate change going on. That's how... It's horrible how they lie about that stuff. But anyways, yes, correct. My position... Okay. Can I not see his posts? So that's interesting. So Kathy, you can see his posts, but I can't. David O'Dutcher writes, my position on climate change is I pretty much agree that it is okay. However, I am concerned that if we don't do something soon, AOC won't be around in 12 years. Nice! Nice! See, that's the kind of humor that I enjoy. Can I steal that? I really like that. Anyways, so I don't know why I can't see his chat, but thank you, Kathy. That's awesome. I'm going to have to start paying Kathy. She's doing all this stuff for me and going back and forth and making sure it's working well. Okay, so that shows that. That's obvious. Changes in temperatures just go back and forth and back and forth. CO2 levels constantly going up. Boom. Now, one thing that they're not going to point out to you is what is a dangerous CO2 level. You ask one of these hoax people, what is just an amazingly dangerous CO2? What if the atmosphere gets up to a certain point? Well, when will we all die? They're not going to. They're not going to tell you that because one, they probably really don't even know. I've heard the last conversation that I heard, the last debate on, if you get two science people debating, one pro, one against, the one that's against the hoax, that's saying that that's not real science, will put things out there. The other one they'll just kind of go off. They'll agree with them on most things, but then they'll just kind of go off. Yeah, but what if? Yeah, but what if? Scientists, people with master's and doctorate's degrees, and that goes back to my smart people are stupid point. These are people with master's and doctorate's degree in climate, whatever, math, whatever, and their answer to it will be, yeah, but what if? Yeah, I know she's running for this office. I saw that on Facebook. Pretty cool, huh? Sounds like she's kind of an independent, what's that called? Libertarian. Colorado, I think it is. But it wasn't her flag, Ralph. It was Betsy Roth's flag. Betsy Ross. Never mind. And the last one, to prove, to back up what I was saying. And this, it's amazing to me that these people that push this hoax, and this is what, like Ralph was saying, is pointing out, yeah, they make their money from the colleges, giving them grants to do what they actually like to do. In order to do so, they have to say this stuff. That's why they can't point this stuff out, because if they pointed this stuff out, it would be defeating what they're getting paid to do. What this is showing is just pretty obvious. It's basically showing how cow farts, land use, fossil fuel burning, that's me farting, how much we're putting into the atmosphere, CO2, compared to vegetation and land, trees and all that, and then the ocean. What they won't be telling you is that the ocean has more CO2 in it than the atmosphere, by tenfold, I think. That is, are we doing that? How many cows fart in the ocean? I don't know of any. Is that a thing? I don't stick my butt and fart in the ocean. Come on. Okay, I'm being silly. I'm sorry, I'm going off. I'll stop a little bit. But this is what it's showing. It's showing the difference between what Mother Nature, for God's sake, what Mother Nature does compared to us. And to me, that's just critical. That's just logic, people. How can you debate? How can a scientist look at that and then say, "Oh my God, we're going to die in 12 years"? It's just silly. But hey, it is what it is. Okay, that's kind of an obvious picture. So there's my facts, and I want to thank my Uncle Dave for pointing out that I needed to start using some facts, because that was fun. I enjoyed that. I actually enjoyed that. I'm able to take my face off the video and actually show that stuff, which is good in itself. And because of that, I actually brought some kind of factual information based on my next topic, the topic of the day, which is education. But first, I better get into the first topic. Let me get to my cheat sheet here. Remember, I am evolving as a podcast by having an actual, I can look at and say, yeah, oops, I forgot that. But I have to look over here. All right. First topic. And that is, smart people are stupid. Before I do that, I should have taken the drink before I came back on. That's a very good mug. Louder with Crowder. If you enjoy humor with the political bent to it, let's order it. I think it's $100 a year, and you get this mug. It's solid. You didn't hear that. It's a good mug. Anyways, so why did I all of a sudden come up with this? And you know, Uncle Dave's got nothing to do with you. It just so happens that I already thought of this after listening to some other people. And then literally after I put this out there as my next topic, you then put what you said on about philosophy and all that. So it's just purely coincidence. What do I mean by smart people are stupid? What I mean by that is this. And And the reason why this is going to be a fun topic is because I actually have a story about, I don't say proof, but what I mean by it. And that is this. Some of what would be considered the smartest people, the intellectuals, and I've been going to college. I hate saying this but anyways, I've had my fair share of college courses. Let's just put it that way. And I've been to a dozen or more what's called like symposiums. I think I'm using the right term, which is very smart people out up there talking. Sometimes it's a debate. Sometimes it's just them talking their point. There might be a difference between symposium and something else, but that's what I'm referring to. And I've participated in some, but most I don't. I would just ask questions. And on their topic, obviously they're amazing. They're smart. They know their stuff. I contend they know their stuff because they read a lot. And I point that out specifically. Because they read a lot. They read this, so now they know this. What they don't seem to be able to do is use critical thinking skills to debunk that. They just believe it. Why? Because Aristotle said it, or Socrates said it, or Brett Weinstein said it, or his brother Eric Weinstein said it, or Sam Harris said it, whatever. Jordan Peterson, any of those guys. Why can't I come up with his name? Sorry, I have to divert here a little bit because I'm Ben Shapiro. I don't know why I cannot remember his name. Ben Shapiro. Because he's a smart person. And so I listen to these people, and they're considered smart. But if you ask them any kind of a question outside of their expertise, they're dumb. And the reason why I say they're stupid, and again, it's done facetiously. I'm being more combative than I am actual. The point is that they're not as brilliant in the big picture as they should be. They're brilliant in their picture. But if you start talking to them about any other political thing or any other social thing, or, hey, let's just have a conversation and work this out, they will keep trying to divert to their their specialty, but they will have no clue what's going on in regular conversation about anything else. It's amazing to me, the lack of critical thinking skills. That probably goes to our education department and the way we run the education nowadays. I'll get into that. But that's what I mean by smart people are stupid. And I actually, and this is the story, stick with me on this one. I went to Boston. Let me go back here. From David L. I guess he was complaining about abolitionism. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you complain about abolitionism? Anyways. Cracks up every time. All right, I'll say it again. Smart people are stupid. I like that. I know it was a little bit but over the top, but I still like it. I think it'll ring. It's a good thing. And that rhymed. But anyways, I'm back to my subject here. I went to Boston for I guess it would be called a big symposium. Apparently these professors, much like Hollywood, love to pat themselves on the back. They love to get amongst themselves and let themselves feel good about themselves by letting others say how wonderful themselves are. And they do this every year, each different group. This one was geographers. And the professor wanted me to put together a poster board presentation about something. And you were able to get a free trip to Boston for it. So yeah, that sounds great. And so I did my presentation. Everything was great. But what he also wanted us to do is to go to the meetings, the symposiums, where they get together and they have speeches or speakers about different subjects. And it just so happens, and that's what makes this great, it just so happens that it was January, maybe? Yeah, probably January of 2017. I'm not good at remembering the years and dates, but Yes, it was right after Trump won the election. And I can't remember the topics. The main reason I can't remember the topics in every detail is because the last night I went and got pretty drunk watching a UFC fight. Walked about 4 miles back to my hotel room, got into 2 fights. That's why I don't remember the details. But what I do remember is going to these symposiums, where they were up there talking on whatever subject, and I went to 4 of them. Every single one ended up having a conversation amongst each other, up at the panel, bringing in Trump and how evil Trump was and how stupid the voters were. And these people were so lost at how Trump won. It was hilarious. I would sit back and watch these things and trying to pay attention to the subject at hand so that I could, because as you can tell, I like to debate. I like to ask questions, and so I would always do that. But they always brought up Trump and how evil, but it always went down to how stupid the people are that voted for him. And my last one, because I kept asking questions and they could probably tell where I was going with everything, but the last one of the professors stood up and walked out and said, yeah, I'm really enjoying your questions. You should go to this one. And he pointed it out and he said, it's going to be a really good one. And looking back, I remember, yeah, he had a smirk on his face, and now I know why. But every time I would ask a question, these people would be almost clueless. It's amazing. All these intellectual, they're college professors, geography, college professors that couldn't answer many questions. It shocked me. And so I went to this and I figured out real quickly why this guy did this. Because he wasn't part of the panel, but he got up after they got doing their stuff just before the question answer part. And he did this diatribe. He just ranted for solid 10 minutes about the evilness of Trump. Evilness of Trump and the stupidity of the people that voted for him, and the racists, and the misogynists, and the ists. Oh, it was amazing. This guy couldn't help himself. And I pretty much had my fill of it. And I had to do it. I had to stand up. And I just said, I don't have a question for the panel other than, why did you allow this guy to speak? And they all were like, oh, what's going on? And this guy looked up and I'm like, what you just said was probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And you're supposed to be a professor. Do you teach like this to your kids? Is this the kind of nonsense that you say to your students? Are you kidding me? And I kind of went off on him about it. And I said, people, you're the reason why Trump got elected. Because those of us normal American-loving people out here just working every day, we hate people like you. We are sick of people like you. You think you're so smart? Well, guess what? You're pretty stupid. Because it's pretty obvious why Trump won. One of the big reasons is because people like us are sick of people like you. The so-called educated, who actually think you know shit, and you don't. You don't know anything other than maybe your specialty. And even that, based on some of those symposiums, no. No, because you're all SJWs. Not all of you. I don't like to speak completely in generalities, but the ones I saw there were. And they didn't know what to do themselves. They just kind of all just shut up and they asked the questions and it was all over. But that is my entire point about the subject of smart people are stupid, because they really are. If you go to college, young people, if you're listening to this, your high school teachers, your college professors, don't get in awe of these people. Some of them are good. I went to SVSU for a bit, and a lot of them were actually pretty good. I can't imagine going to like Harvard or U of M or anything like that. I can't imagine it. But don't be in awe of these people. They are not impressive people. Remember that saying. Smart people are stupid. Listen to what they say. Take from it whatever the topic is of the class. If you don't feel like questioning them, because if you question them, you'll see their heads just spin around. And you might not get a good grade. So, do what you got to do to get out of there, get your degree. But don't be impressed by them. Just don't. You'll know the ones that are good, the ones that are truly people to be impressed by. And that's like the professor I told you that was big into butterflies. Actually, he's like 100 different species that he actually found. At the beginning of the class, he said, listen, I can't say I believe in God, but I am a scientist, and based on science, I refuse to say there isn't one. Because I don't know. It hasn't been proven there is no God, and science hasn't proven that there's a different way that actually the earth was created, the solar system was created, other than God. So, and he actually gave extra credit to people who argued for God in the exam. So, which is the only reason why I passed that exam, I think. But anyways, that is a science teacher. That is a person that's a smart person that I would not consider to be stupid. So put that into context. Smart people are stupid because a lot of them are not as impressive as they seem to be. All right. Before I go on to the last subject, about an hour long so far, so that's good. Before I get back on the next subject, I want to make sure everything's going good. I'm going to put in here the phone number again, just in case somebody wants to call and talk about anything else, whatever you want. Oh, nice, Jack, nice. Cows farting in the ocean are called sea cows. I like that. Let's see. Phone number is there. If anyone wants to call, you don't have to call about the topic. You don't have to call about climate change. You don't have to talk about smart people being stupid, and of course, you don't have to talk about education. You can talk about anything. Let me get back to where I'm going, and then my professional broadcast or podcast show information here. Education. All right. First of all, education department. The federal education. These are my topic heads. Education, the federal education, the lack of critical thinking skills being taught in education. They teach to test, not teach to learn. And I think that's a big deal. I really do. I think testing is over. Yeah, test, sure. But I would test like daily. And then test at the end just because it's important to try to learn all that big stuff. But I wouldn't put as much emphasis in it as actually being involved and learning and talking about it and being involved in the class. I found out that I actually learned more in this year or so of watching YouTube debates from people in whatever topic it is. I learned more from that than I ever have from college or high school. Obviously, the system is more lean now towards SJW or indoctrination. That doesn't mean every teacher is bad, but we know that that's kind of the thing. And where I want to start at is why it's gotten so bad. And then I'm going to put out some charts on the why I think the funding part of it, the budget part of it is wrong, and I'll end it there. But it's pretty obvious, and I think most people know that, especially at the college level, and that's what I'm going to talk about right now, the college level is full of more lefty, especially when you go to Harvard and Yale, all those big schools. And everybody wonders why. That's something that people, they're not quite sure what's going on. Why is it? How do I say this? Well, they're the smart ones. That's why they're teachers, and that's how they'll say. That they're the teachers. They're the smart ones. That's why they're there, and so that's why because the smart people go into teaching. And no, that's not true. It's not true at all. Why there's so many leftists, liberals, communists, Marxists, I don't care, in the education system is this. 60s hippies group, the hippies, the 60s, going into the 70s. That group of people, you had some that were more towards the conservative part, and they got jobs and went to own businesses, and they went that way. The real hippie type, they went into education. Now, whether it was an actual, and it was a very smart thing to do, by the way, whether it was actually something that they did on purpose, like, hey, the best way to end capitalism and start socialism would be to get to the youth. I don't know if there's no way to really know what an individual person thinks about that stuff. But what I do know that happened is because colleges coming up were all mainly kind of that conservative group. But as they got older and left, and as the 60s hippies were coming in and got their tenure, they then got the positions that were able to hire the other people. So now, as they started getting positions all throughout the universities, because you're talking an entire decade, an entire population of people, hippies, that went into education, bit by bit, they stopped hiring people that were more on the conservative. If they knew that you were more on that conservative, interviewing, papers you wrote, whatever, you're not getting the job. They only hired themselves. They hired people who believed themselves. They hired people who maybe wrote papers or did their whatever in socialism, in that kind of liberal belief. It started out probably just liberals, and they hired themselves. Maybe they did it on purpose. It would be intelligent if they did. I would be impressed as a battle of ideas if that's what they did. They actually got together and said, let's start doing this. But I don't know. It probably started off innocent. They just hired their own kind of liberal thought people. And then eventually, it got to where that's what they do now. They just hired themselves. And that's why it's just full of these leftists that they get in this echo chamber. And I mentioned how I went back to this one guy's Facebook page because I was finding myself too much into the echo chamber. And I didn't like it. So I wanted to make sure that I got out of that echo chamber, because Facebook is going to do that on purpose. As much as they're going to try to get things here and there on you, they are a business, and they're going to try to only get you stuff that you keep wanting, that you keep looking at. And next thing you know, that's all you're dealing with is people who agree with everything you say, and that's the echo chamber, and you don't learn. It's just like when I was talking about the culture, multiculturalism, and diversity. It's diversity of thought that's important. And if if a country, and that's all they ever did, they completely enclosed themselves in, they would never learn what other countries and other nations learned. And so they wouldn't be able to then take that stuff, add it to their stuff, and get more intelligent. And so I wanted to get out of that echo chamber. Well, these people don't get out of the echo chamber. They love their echo chamber. They think because they're educated, remember, they think they're smart, that they're educated. Marxism is perfect for professors. Just think about it. The basis of Marxism is a scientifically ran economic system, a scientifically ran government. Well, who are the leaders? Who are the ones that are going to put together these algorithms? But teachers, professors. They think that they're the ones that know better. That's why Democrats, liberals, are big government people. Some of them honestly think that, hey, we're smart. We know more than you. We will take care of you. Okay. They literally think that. They truly believe that they can run your life better than you, and that's what they want to do. That's the education. That's what's the main problem with education now and at that level, at college level. The next thing that's a problem with the college level, let's see if I say anything here. By his posts, Andrew Heller falls into the pile of smart but so stupid. Ralph, I thought about that myself, but I'm actually talking about like doctorate level intelligent people that are actually stupid. I was always friends with Andrew Heller and his family. They're great people. I shouldn't have said his last name. Well, you posted it, so I'm safe. And they seem like a great family and they're great people. I never got the thought that he was a thinker. He's not just some... I've debated politics with him face to face, and he just falls apart. He doesn't even try in real life. So that's why I know it's all fake on his podcast, on his Facebook page. He's not a thinker. I just don't think that, and I don't mean it to be a mean. I really don't. So I don't know if he would fall under that as a smart. That's stupid. I just think he's just not a thinker. But anyways, let's see. My kids are living at home. I hated the fact that they had to binge and purge information instead of actual in-depth learning. Exactly, Kathy. And that's one of my stats, and I think I have it in there that I'll be bringing up, is the comparison between homeschooling and public education. Is that fact about the test scores on all levels of everything. Homeschooling that is done, truly done. Really, they work hard at it. The kids are so much smarter because they learn that, like you said, the actual in-depth learning instead of just enough to pass the test, just enough to pass the test. And oh, guess what? Don't do critical thinking. Don't question what you're reading. Just learn it, test. Learn it, test. And that's so absurd. You're absolutely right. Smart people are stupid. I think I've pretty much pushed that one as far as I can go. To be honest with you, I might have already moved on and completely forgot. So, now that's what I'm trying to learn, how to go from comments to my topics. But I'm loving it. All right. I'm going to bring up some budget issues, numbers that I showed from K through 12. Because I've talked about the college level. Oh, what I did forget to bring up in the college level and why I think it's so bad is this notion that people should go to college. Let me go back to the monetary part of it. People always complain about why it's so expensive. And I tell you, these college professors at these, and I think that was one of the topics at that symposium that I went to in Boston, and I asked the question. I mean, I pointed out there as not really a question, but an answer, because they were like, "Well, we got to try to work out why it's cost so much, and how these poor students can't pay, whatever, all this debt." Okay. Why has it spiked so much, the college expense? And there's one answer, and it's pretty freaking. Well, there's two out. One, it's way too top heavy. There's way too many administrators and not enough professors, I would say. Way too many administrators. But they have to spend their money that they get, or else it's just like anything else. If you don't spend it, then you don't need it, and they take it away from your department. So they have a spending situation where if the departments don't use their money and request more, then they'll will get stuff taken away. And that's why their expenses just keep going up. That's the administration part of it. Way too many. But I think one of the biggest reasons is this idea of student loans and grants. If there was no such thing as student loans, which I'm for, okay? Did I take out student loans? Hell yeah, I took out student loans. Do I wish I wouldn't have? Hell yeah, I wish I wouldn't have. But so what? The fact is that the federal government being involved in student loans and Pell Grants. Oh, but what about the poor? What about the poor children? What about? So that's what they do. They tug at that heartstring. Well, it's easy to say if you're rich. Well, no, most people aren't rich. Most people can't afford college unless they get that. So that's not poor. Middle class can't even afford it if you don't have student loans and grants. But because the price is so high. And why is the price so high? Because of student loans and grants. Colleges can keep adding the cost to their colleges because the government is just going to put these loans out for people. And these people are coming out and they're pushed to go to college. And they can't afford it, nobody, unless they come from a wealthy family. And so they get student loans and grants. And so they don't care how much college costs. Why would they care how much college costs when look at all this free money? It's fantastic. That's why it's so expensive. And it's so silly that these professors, they're like, oh, why is it so much? And they like blame the Republicans. They blame big business. It's so stupid. Smart people are stupid. It's amazing how I keep coming back to that. But so that's the economic part of it. It's simple. Get rid of loans. Get rid of grants. 100%. And colleges will have to fight for the business, the free market enterprise. They will have to fight for your business. How do they fight for your business? Because they compete financially. We can do it for this much credit hour. Yeah, well, we can do it for this much credit. Yeah, well, we can pay this much credit hour to go to a better college. Good. You go to the better college if you think it's better. Go right ahead. You can pay the $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a year. But all the rest of these colleges, we're gonna compete for these people's business. Okay. Now, the argument back, both sides, the argument back says, yeah, but education's important, and we want a smart country. Well, guess what, people? Not everybody's smart. Most people aren't smart enough to go to college. Sorry to tell you, it's just not the way it is. Or they shouldn't go to college because they're not going to be a doctor. If you're not going to be a doctor or some sort of scientist, an engineer, if you're not the STEM programs, I believe what they call it, or even a teacher, I guess, if that's not you, you should not be going to college for underwater basket weaving. There probably isn't actually a class like that. That's just or women's studies. You probably shouldn't. Sociology and psychology, I think. I shouldn't get into that, but if you're not going to go to those fields, why are you going to college? Go to a trade school. Go to a trade school and learn carpentry or learn HVAC or truck driving or a school for that. But go for something like that because those jobs pay more than teachers. Those jobs pay more than probably some doctors make. Okay, HVAC, you get up there and start making good money. You own your own business. You're making six figures. I mean, it just makes no sense. You don't have to go to a 4-year college. So probably half the people that go to school shouldn't be going to college. College is a business now. And the problem with the fact that college is a business now is you have the government paying for the frickin' thing. No, it's outrageous how much money is paid at colleges when most people shouldn't be going to college. And maybe that statement that I made where not everyone's smart enough to go to college, that was a little rough, maybe, but I guarantee you there's some truth to it, and so I'm okay with it. I take back the take back. Go to trade school, or just go to the service. Spend 4 years there, and then they'll pay for your college, or you come out and get a good job and have a good living. Start a business. Don't go to college. Okay? The only way we stop this is if we stop the student loans and stop the Pell Grants. If you insist on student loans, you insist on Pell Grants, cap the heck out of it. Bring it down. If you brought down the amount of 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds getting that kind of money thrown at them, they don't care and they don't know. Because most parents don't teach their kids about economics, money, how to balance a checkbook. They don't teach it. I know I didn't. I had econ class my last semester because I couldn't do algebra. Another story. But so I had some knowledge of it, and it sure the heck didn't help me. they don't know how to handle getting all that money. Not to mention all the credit cards that get instantly. As soon as you turn and go to college, you can get any credit card, a dozen of them, easily. So they inundate you with that. They inundate you with free money to go to college, and you're just sitting there not having to work and just going to college and getting a degree in underwater basket weaving or women's studies. They're the same thing. Stop it. And these professors that were up there were like, "Are you? No, there's no. What are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. No, it can't be that way. It's got to be because of the rich people. It's got to be because of the Republicans. It's got to." Yeah, smart people are stupid. I think I went to college. I think I did the college good enough. Maybe I missed something, but I'm moving on. End the podcast here with pointing out K through 12. I actually don't know if K through 12 should really be anymore. I don't know. I go back and forth on it. I think high school sports are important coming up. The extracurricular, that word was rough, is important growing up. Interaction with people, learning discipline. I love that aspect of it. But you wouldn't have to necessarily have a city school to do that. You could have all the different home schools and all the different, what do you call those, charter schools, and each city still have their football teams or whatever. You could come up with a system like that. But the K through 12 system has basically become an indoctrination incubate. That's all it is. I mean, it's more of a gender study in schools, in most schools, not all. In some of the country schools, maybe they don't have those. I don't know. But the problem is a lot of these superintendents, the schools, the principals, they have their hands tied a little bit, and that's the financial part of it. I did some investigation to find out, because I'm always under the impression that you get your taxes, all the money, city, local, state, goes up to the federal. Federal then trickles it down based on what they feel happens. I think it goes that way, but it's more of a state thing. The money goes up to the state, then the state trickles it back down. And there are a couple different options that different states use in that. I'll go over that real quick and then point out the charter schools, public schools, Christian schools compared to public schools. It's easier for a 19, 20-year-old to get a student loan than for a 40-year-old to get a business loan or home loan. Wow, did you just put a mouthful, Ralph? Yes, you said a mouthful. That's 100%. Never thought of it that way, but yes. And is that not a sad thing? Easier to put for a 19 to 20-year-old to get a student loan and credit cards at that point than it is for a 40-year-old with work experience to get a business loan, which would actually do a lot better for the country in the long run, because most college students are not going to get the degree they went to initially. Most college students might not even finish college, or they're going to get degrees that don't do them any good. Great point. So they agreed that they didn't like public school, but they participated in the sports and electives. You're right. Yeah, when you guys went out to Iowa, it seemed like they really thrived when they got into swimming. I agree there. Let's see if my YouTube is still going. Looks like it is. So Uncle Dave is posting on Kathy's page somehow. How did he post? How was he posting on her page? I don't even. So he's actually posting on your page somehow. That's fantastic. And I don't know enough about Facebook to even understand how that's even going. So we'll move on from there. Again, the phone number I've given it out. Let's see, 810-348-5807. I'm coming to the end of the podcast. All I'm going to do is show you the stats. Because, hey, I studied these things thanks to Uncle Dave browbeating me into showing some facts. So the first one that I have is it's budget compared to test scores. And these are K through 12 from 70 to 2006. Boy, does that say a lot. And you hear the Democrats and the left, they just crying, boo-hoo, what about the kids? What about the children? Even though they like murdering unborn innocent children, that's beside the point. What about the children? Well, guess what? Look at the cost. Look at the spike in education costs compared to the test scores. Now, if someone can point out that these are wrong, that these are made up, go right ahead. Feel free. Because everything I looked at, and I saw many of these, that's exactly what they say. That's K through 12. Does that make any sense to you at all? No. We spend more money, I think, than any other nation, and our test scores aren't as good. Now, I don't agree those stats necessarily, because a lot of times those stats aren't comparing apples to oranges. Okay, they literally, the way their system works, only the top people actually get to a certain level of school. The rest of them gear more towards regular jobs. So they're only testing their brightest, and that's the test they're comparing to our entire population of kids. So don't necessarily believe this hype about test scores towards other nations. It's not completely true. But anyways, back to this. Nothing in test scores super high with the expense of K through 12. Why? Because the Democrats and liberals are all about give me more money, raise taxes, give me more money for more power, and they just waste the money. That's what government does. That is government. That is a perfect example of government taking all the money they can and nothing good happens with it. Okay, I believe it was Bush that did the No Child Left Behind Act, which I remember thinking when he came in and he pointed that, I was like, well, it's probably a good thing for children, and it sounds like it just destroyed the education system. I forgot to look at it. I was going to look it up and actually look at what it means and what it says exactly, but I remember someone discussing it, pointing out why it was so bad, and I think it might have a lot to do with the whole idea of testing. Hopefully everything's still going. Everybody can still hear me. But so that's the first one I found. To me, that tells you everything about the K through 12 system, as far as just a waste of money, and the way the money is actually used. And there's a couple different methods. And I tell you what they're moving to, and this is what I found during discussions. Thanks to my Uncle Dave browbeating me about finding facts. More than just me up here blabbering, so that I don't sound like a leftist without facts. Thank you. Anyways, they're going more towards what's called the centralized school and finance, state control of contributions back to the individual cities or counties. What happens is all the counties or the local localities, they collect a tax anywhere from like 1% to 1.4% or something like that. They collect the tax, and anything under, like, say, whatever state, different states are different ways. Some states are 10,000 per student, some are 6,000 per student, whatever it is. Anything between there, some more, some less. But what they do is, because the wealthier communities, that 1.2%, 1.4%, whatever they do, surpasses the 10,000 per student range. Because taxes that are supposed to go strictly to students, strictly to education, they raise more than 10,000 per student. So the state gives them nothing. The state doesn't help them in any way, shape, or form, because they reach that 10,000. The more poor counties or cities, localities, they actually don't reach that 6,000, the 1%, whatever it is. They don't reach that 6,000 or 10,000 plateau. So then the state gives them that difference, and that's the state budget. That's the first way they do it. That's called foundation grants. The next way they do it is, because during that way, if a school district in the poorer school district raises their, they can raise their taxes, they will never reach 10,000. So their people are getting taxed more, but they're never reaching the 10,000. So the state always has to bring more in. The next way to do it is they call it a guaranteed tax base, where they're guaranteed a tax base with a consistent amount of money for their tax effort. So the tax rate's 1.2%. both in the poorer cities and the wealthier cities. The wealthier cities, they reach that 10,000, they're good. To talk the poorer cities into raising their tax rate on the community to try to reach that 10,000 as close as possible, the state says if you raise from 1.2 to 1.4 or whatever, we will double the amount of money coming back to you on that. We will match that. So whatever that extra is from the people, we actually match that so that it makes it worthwhile to tax their people more. What a great system, right? Let's tax the poor people more. I thought Democrats were all about helping the poor people. But anyways. Now they're going to a more centralized where, of course, government power, where they're just going to say everyone gives 1.2%, 1.3%. It doesn't matter. Whatever comes in, and then we just give everybody the same. 10,000 per student. Usually that's low, though. They don't go 10,000 per student. That's the states that jump down to like 6,000 per student because now they're just guaranteeing from everybody. Where the extra money comes from the wealthiest schools, doesn't matter. We don't care about the wealthy, remember. It's only about the poor. Next slideshow. Man, I cannot believe I figured out how to do this. That's pretty awesome. Now, I don't know if you guys know this or not. But in the Constitution shows nothing about the federal government doing anything for the school district, schools. That is not in the Constitution. The way that the big federal government gets around that is it's not for education. It's for the states as long as they are willing to agree to certain rules. Okay, just like No Child Left Behind. As long as you agree to that and you're willing to do that, they give you a block grant. Boom, the state gets it. The state then gives it to the schools. So that way it's a walk around the Constitution. Now, I would love to say that's straight Democrat, but I doubt it. I'm sure it's a Republican. I'm sure they don't even care. Whatever. Unless you're a conservative or more of a libertarian, you probably don't care. Whatever. It's more money than big government. Because now the government gets to tell the states, you will teach Common Core in your schools or you will not get this $1 billion in grant money. That's how Common Core instantly got put in. Because I don't know how many states didn't do it, but most states, if not, whatever, 45, 60, 47, 40, whatever. Of course, because most states don't have the budget where they can say, just give up $1 billion or whatever it is in grant money. So that's the way the federal government works around the Constitution to get involved in local school districts to put in the books the BS that they put in the books. The history books, the math, whatever you want. And Common Core, everyone knows, was just a complete flop. Absolute waste. But that's how they get around it. By these grants to the state. As long as the state agrees to force their school, the localities, to do XYZ. Under Bush, it was No Child Left Behind. Under Obama, which was that Common Core was just... The history books, a part of Common Core, were just pathetic. It was so horrible. It was just bad. It was indoctrination at its worst. What about the Atlanta teachers changing test answers so they get a bonus? There you go. I didn't hear about that. Atlanta teachers changing test answers so they get a bonus. That might have something to do with the No Child Left Behind thing. It very well could be. It turned out that was a disaster. Because what I think it had something to do with, and correct, I may be wrong on this, but I think it had a lot to do with test scores above a certain amount, and the teachers were held more liable for that. And as long as they got the test scores, they got the more grant. That's how that worked, I think, something like that. So that I guarantee it's not just Atlanta, Ralph. I guarantee you a lot of school districts said, let's just give these guys passing. Let's be like Harvard and Yale. And they basically, if you get in there and you're willing to pay the $50,000 a semester, you're going to pass. That's Harvard. That's Yale. That's why, let's all say it together, that's why smart people are stupid. How is it possible that every teacher told us that it was far too complicated? What happened? I can't scroll for some reason. I'm stuck. Uh-oh. There it is. How is it possible that every teacher told us that it was far too complicated for us parents to learn so we can help our children for homework? We could not comprehend this and still can't. Thankfully, my youngest doesn't struggle with math. I don't know. I don't know about that as far as teachers telling parents that they can't learn enough to help their kids. Maybe because they don't want you helping your kids so that they can be the only ones influencing your kids. Makes sense to me, I guess. That's the newest thing. The digital space for schooling is the next thing, and that's where I was kind of going to it. That was kind of going to be my end. Is based on this, you can see the non-constitutional part of federal government, which is the education part, spends more than the constitutional defense. And then when you combine all education, K-12 and other educations, now look at how much more they spend in defense. One's constitutional, one's not. And they didn't go and right at it and say, no, we're going to amend the Constitution, giving the federal government the right power over localities, because it wouldn't happen. People would be like, no, you're the federal government, stay out of our localities. So instead, they do go to a state with these block grants, a way around the Constitution for big government power. Pretty simple and pretty ingenious, actually. Very smart, evil people. So that's why I wanted to point that one out. And I think I only have one more, and that's the one that Kathy was referring to. These are SAT scores. There's actually another one, PSAT scores. I forgot to download that one or get that one. But reading, writing, math, and then the total scores. ACCS, I believe that's the Christian, like the combination of all the Christian schools. Of course, independent would be more along the lines of charter. That's the religious. They added both those together. I'm pretty sure ACCS is, maybe that's just one set of Catholic schools. And then, of course, public. Kind of speaks for itself. I think everyone knows that. There really isn't. And what annoys the heck out of me is people that, in their mind, homeschooling is wrong for the kids because the kids don't get enough time with other kids, and they miss out on that how to deal with other kids. And well, if you're a homeschooler, and it's more now than way in the past, but a majority of homeschoolers, not all, nothing's all. There are some that don't do this, but most make sure that their kids are involved in multitude of things. Homeschooling is such a big thing now, and I forgot to bring that number up too. There's a number that shows how many from the 70s all the way up to now, and it's a huge number now. But there are so many organizations out there now that you can get in touch with and you can get with that will, you can get together and go do things as a group. I'm pretty sure if you're a homeschooled kid, you live in a city, you can still play sports in that school district. So now that argument, and I've never understood it anyways, that argument is it's stupid. It's the teachers' unions fighting to make sure that they're literally trying to stop charter schools and homeschooling because it affects them. They don't care about the kids. Teachers' unions don't care about the kids because that's not who they're trying to protect. They're there to protect the teachers. Now, I'm not saying the teachers don't care about the kids, but the teachers are going to go with the unions because the unions are taking care of them. So it kind of works out that way, and it's not right. The worst thing, and they never can answer this, is inner city kids. Not allowing inner city kids to go to these public schools. They're trying to outlaw and stop that, where the only way that some of these kids can get out of these neighborhoods, these school districts that are basically gang infested, to have a good life is to go to a charter school. And they don't even want them to do that. how can a Democrat? I know why a Democrat does that, because it destroys the teachers' unions. The teachers' unions pay the Democrats. But how can you, as a Democrat, when you claim to be for children, you claim to be for the poverty, the poverty class, you claim all these things, but yet one of the biggest things to help someone in poverty is to be able to go to a better school that doesn't have gangs, and you want to stop that? That's not logical. So, someone please. And this is why the whole podcast got started. Is I'm trying more than ever, we need to start talking to Democrat voters, because, and I say this every time, and I will say it every time, I still believe that upwards of 70%. Yeah, I think I started at 80, but I'm getting a little bit worse and worse. But upwards of 70% of those who vote Democrats are good, hardworking, normal, everyday people like me. That they're just normal people. But at some point, growing up, maybe their daddy told them Democrats are good, Republicans are bad. They're union reps. Republicans are bad, Democrats are good. Republicans are for the rich. They're racist. I mean, they completely changed history for the big lie about this big switch where all of a sudden all Democrats became good and liked minorities, and all Republicans that liked minorities and got rid of slavery now all hate black. That's to the extent that they're willing to go to for this. Or you went to your professor told you about it, and now you don't care. Most 70% I'm at. Most of those, the 70%, that's the way they think. They don't even think about it. They don't care. Engage these people. Most of the people that I deal with on Andy's page are kind of the hard leftist socialists, or they are so indoctrinated that they just don't even care. They just, you bring up some kind of fact, and just like Andy, they just run away. They'll call you names. And he's got some that the smart people that are stupid. A lot of his journalist buddies are on there, and you can tell it too, because their thumbnail is a picture of them like this, or like this, and that's their thumbnail picture. When they're like that, chances are they fall into that smart people are stupid thing. Anyways, so there it is. My first double podcast because of the mistake. Thanks for watching, everybody who was watching. Remember, please share, please like. If you're on YouTube, if you see this on YouTube, please go ahead and you added something here. Ballet basketball story time at the library, VBS, and all the church functions. My 3 children are being homeschooled. I feel they're way ahead of most. I didn't know you homeschooled, Ralph. Fantastic. That's excellent. Do you dance ballet with them? Anyway, maybe you do. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have laughed at that. That was probably bad. I didn't know you homeschooled. That is excellent. That is excellent. I'm wondering if you talked Ed into buying a pool after seeing those pictures. I'm assuming that was your home. Anyways, you and I are having a conversation here. I guarantee you they are way ahead. Do they play? So they do sports, then? That's what you're saying, right? Baseball, swimming. Yep. I don't know what VBS is, but church functions. Yep, church functions. I wouldn't mind talking to you sometime about that. I'm curious if you use a system like on the computer. If you if there's like a system out there that you program that you use specific, like I can't think of the name of it. It starts with a K. It's the name of the leader of the mongrels. I think I can't. Khan Academy, I think, is one of those. But anyways, so please share, like, YouTube. I can never remember. Subscribe. Most important, hit the bell so that you get notifications when I'm on live. And next time, hopefully, I won't have problems with the volume right off the bat, because there was like 40 some people that joined right off the bat, and I was wondering why none of them were staying. Well, I'm glad it wasn't just because of a bad show. But anyways, thanks again for watching, and I will see you next Wednesday at 6 p.m. if I can figure out how to end this.